For quite a long time now, there has been this fear among much of society that cholesterol causes heart disease, causes problems, gives you a higher risk for heart attacks and strokes and so forth, right? But let me tell you, cholesterol is not the enemy. Your body needs cholesterol for many functions, including, in fact, that your brain contains about 25% of the total cholesterol in your body, just in your brain. Your brain really needs cholesterol for many different functions, and cholesterol is an important thing. People say that cholesterol causes heart disease and heart attacks, but some people have heart attacks and they do have high cholesterol, while other people have heart attacks and they have low or normal cholesterol. So, what actually causes heart disease? This may shock you, but I believe the real culprit is visceral fat in and around our heart and organs. I believe visceral fat is the cause of metabolic disease, and despite common belief, it's possible to have visceral fat around your heart and organs and be a thin person. Visceral fat is not something that's visible, right? It's it's inside, and the stuff, the fat that's more visible is the subcutaneous fat. And you know, obviously people don't like having like a big belly and so forth, and you know, they want to get rid of that belly fat. But the visceral fat is really the dangerous fat. It's literally around your organs, your heart, and it is causing disease in your body. So here's the real kicker of this: there is not a documented case in the entire world where someone has had a heart attack and did not have visceral fat around their heart. Not one single case. That should be shocking. That should be a smoking gun. You know, they talk about how there's this association for cholesterol because that so many people that have heart attacks or die from heart attacks or heart disease had high cholesterol. But at the same time, there's plenty of people also that had normal or low cholesterol and died from a heart attack or heart disease or whatever, right? And that's considered a smoking gun for some reason. But something like visceral fat around your heart, where there's not a single documented case of somebody not having visceral fat around their heart that died of heart disease, that had a heart attack, that had heart surgery, the MRI scans, if they had any of those, they all show visceral fat around their heart. And nobody is bringing this up. Nobody is talking about it. Why? Because there is not a good way to actually tell people to eat a certain way or whatever and still make a profit, because the only way you're going to get rid of visceral fat is by cutting out all those processed foods, the sugary foods, eating more real foods, and then doing basic lifestyle things, getting the right amount of sleep, and getting rid of stress in your life, and you know, getting enough sunlight and those kind of things. That's what actually fixes visceral fat. There isn't necessarily a pill you can take that's going to get rid of visceral fat. And so since there is not a way to make money, that is not talked about as a smoking gun. And that's part of what's wrong with our society. But it's just crazy that more people are not thinking about this. Dr. Sean O'Mara talks about this all the time. There's a few others out there as well. He will do, you know, MRI scans on different people, and he has seen all kinds of people that are well overweight. There are people that are like distance runners that are very thin. He has worked even with vegetarians and vegans and so forth, and they all had visceral fat around their heart when they went to work with him. So it's not like you can just say that, oh, it has to do with the amount of subcutaneous fat that you have. Yes, if you got a bunch of subcutaneous fat, you probably do have visceral fat as well. But that doesn't mean that just because you don't have much of that and you look really thin that you don't have visceral fat. That is a dangerous thing for you as well, right? It just, there isn't really a good way to tell unless you have like an MRI scan or something like that. And there's not very many people that are going to do that. Insurance companies are not going to pay for those MRI scans for somebody to just see something like that. So, it's something that people have to pay for out of their pocket, and it's expensive. And so, really, that kind of thing just isn't talked about in our society, and it really needs to be. That's really more so the smoking gun, the visceral fat, um, you know, cholesterol. There's just way too many questions about that whole thing because it doesn't add up. There's too many people that have high cholesterol and do not have any heart issues. There is too many people that have low or normal cholesterol and have heart issues. So cholesterol does not add up. But look at visceral fat. I said there's not a documented case in the world where someone has had a heart attack and did not have visceral fat. And if you don't believe me, I challenge you to go out there and do the research and try and find a documented case, because you cannot find a case that documents that somebody did not have visceral fat around their heart and they had a heart attack. The visceral fat is the key to getting rid of that visceral fat to lower your risks of heart disease and heart attacks and so forth.